Oh, buddy, I'm in trouble now. Before I go, I want to share this story with you because it's important to this point. I want your community to know that one of the coolest people I ever met was a transgender woman. And this is not a man that I knew that became a woman. This woman was trans when I met her. Lived in San Francisco. Daphne Dworman is her name. I would do 18 shows in the Bay Area, sometimes in Oakland and Dirty Hood nightclub, and she would be there, a white trans woman, laughing loud and hard at everything I said, especially the trans jokes. It's very puzzling because she was obviously trans. And one night after one of the shows, I met her. And what it was, turns out, it was her dream to be a comedian. And I was her hero. It's very moving. I could not dislike somebody that felt that way about me. We became fast friends. And when I made that special Sticks and Stones, right as it was coming out, I happened to be in San Francisco and I wanted to do a show, but I needed an opening act. And I remembered that trans woman I had met. So I called her on the phone. And I called her myself. I said, "Hey, Daphne, this is Dave Chappelle." She couldn't believe it. And I go, "I'm in San Francisco." And then she started saying a bunch of wild stuff. I was like, "Relax now. I don't want any pussy." I was, I was calling because I'm doing a show and I need an opening act. And I was wondering if you'd open the show. And she was like, "Fuck yeah." Now, I didn't know this at the time, but this woman had only done stand-up comedy 8 times in her life. This is little to no experience. And now she's about to open a show for what many call the GOAT. She's an amateur in stature, but in practice, she was very professional. She showed up early, which is something I appreciate because I like people to be on time. She was dressed to the motherfucking nines. I mean, I'm transphobic, and even I was like, "You look nice." Went up on the stage with all the swag of a professional comedian, grabbed that mic and walked right down the middle and looked at the crowd like a gangster. Man, you should have seen her work. This bitch bombed for 45 minutes straight. And I am not exaggerating, young man. That show was terrible. Stunk. Stunk. And then she brings me on and, you know, I was like a glass of water after a handful of salt. The crowd was happy to see me. I was killing it. But here's what impressed me. Any other comedian I've ever seen, if they had bombed as bad as she did, would have snuck out of the back of the theater and went home and cried or something. And she didn't do that. Not only did she not leave, she found a seat right up in front. You know, when a new comedian watches an experienced comedian in comedy, we call this taking class. And this bitch took my whole class. She sat up there and was laughing as hard as she always laughs, as if nothing bad had even happened to her. And I saw her show. Something bad happened to her. She was drunk. So she starts talking to me while I'm on stage, but the way a person would talk to a television when they were alone. She's talking to me like that. That didn't bother me because I knew her, but the crowd didn't like that shit at all because she sucked. And a guy in the back of the room stood up, and Daphne's hair was dyed blonde at the time, and the guy screamed out, and his energy felt wild as fuck. He said, "Hey, Daphne!" And everybody kind of clamped, like got tense. We didn't know if it was a heckler or active shooter. And he said, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" Yeah, it was fucked up. The whole crowd kind of groaned because it was so, like, mean. Everybody groaned, except for Daphne. She kind of laughed, which was weird. And then she didn't even look all the way back. She said, "Sir, I don't have carpets. I have hardwood floors." Just like that. Just like that. And boy, when she said that shit, it blew the roof off the place. Cut through all the tension. With that one joke, she made up for 45 minutes of a stinker of a show. And after that, she could do no wrong. And I kept on rocking. She kept on talking to me. And then the show became something cooler than a show. It became like a conversation between a black man and a white trans woman, and we started getting to the bomber shit. All them questions that you think about that you'd be afraid to ask, I was just asking them, and she was answering them, and her answers were funny as shit. The crowd was falling out of their chairs. And at the end of the show, I go, "Oh, Daphne," I said, "Well, that was fun." I go, "I love you to death, but I have no fucking idea what you're talking about." The whole crowd laughed, except for Daphne. Now she looks at me like I'm not her friend anymore. Like I'm something bigger than me, like I'm the whole world and a guy. And she said, "I don't need you to understand me." I said, "What?" She said, "I just need you to believe," just like this, she goes, "that I'm having a human experience." And when she said it, the whole crowd kind of gasped. And I gave her the Fight Club look. I said, "I believe you, bitch." Because she didn't say anything about pronouns. She didn't say anything about me being in trouble. She said, "Just believe I'm a person and I'm going through it." And oh, I believe you because it takes one to know one. Then I told the crowd good night, and they start going crazy. And before the applause gets to its crescendo, I say, "And don't forget my opening act, Daphne." And the crowd stood up. And I looked at her, and tears came out of her eyes. She couldn't believe it was happening. I couldn't believe it was happening because her show stunk. And it was a great night. I remember the late, great Paul Mooney was there, a bunch of fly-ass comedy niggas was there. And we all went backstage and was just drinking and talking shit and laughing, and Daphne stole the room. She had everyone cracking up, spinning the yarn, telling us all these crazy stories about shit she be into. We all laughing real hard, and as she's telling us and everyone's laughing, I'm looking around, I'm like, oh my God, she is funny. I pulled her aside and I said, "You're hilarious. I didn't know that when you were on stage." I said, "You're doing some things wrong, but I can help you." I said, "Anytime I'm in San Francisco, why don't you open the show for me, and I'll just try to give you some pointers, see if you can't work this thing out." And she said, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah." And she grabbed me real tight, hugged me, squeezed me, and I pushed her all violently because I'm transphobic. I said, "Boundaries, bitch." When Sticks and Stones came out, a lot of people in the trans community were furious with me, and apparently they dragged me on Twitter. I don't give a fuck, because Twitter's not a real place. And the hardest thing for a person to do is go against their tribe if they disagree with their tribe, but Daphne did that for me. She wrote a tweet that was very beautiful, and what she said was, it was almost exactly what she said. She said, "Punching down on someone requires you to think less of them. And I know him, and he doesn't. He doesn't punch up, he doesn't punch down, he punches lines, and he's a master at his craft." That's what she said. Beautiful tweet. Beautiful friend. It took a lot of heart to defend me like that. And when she did that, the trans community dragged that bitch all over Twitter. For days, they was going in on her, and she was holding her own because she's funny. But 6 days after that wonderful night I described to you, my friend Daphne killed herself. Oh, yeah. It's a true story. My heart was broken. Yeah, it wasn't the jokes. I don't know if it was them dragging her. I don't know what's going on in her life, but I bet dragging her didn't help. I was very angry at them. I was very angry at her. I felt like Daphne lied to me. She always said she identified as a woman, and then one day she goes up to the roof of a building and jumps off and kills herself. Clearly, Only a man would do some gangster shit like that. Hear me out. As hard as it is to hear a joke like that, I'm telling you right now, Daphne would have loved that joke. That's why she was my friend. It's like that white black bitch that's in the news all the time. Rachel Dolezal. She always says that. She's a white woman, but then she dressed up like a nigga and shot her way up to the very top of blackness. How far is Rachel willing to go? What is Rachel willing to do so that we blacks can believe that she believes she's actually one of us? Bitch, are you willing to put a lien on your house so that you can invest in a mixtape that probably won't work out? She didn't even change her name. Didn't even change her name. Her name is Rachel. I can't believe in that name. If you want my support, you're gonna have to change your name to the blackest shit I've ever heard. Bitch, you're gonna have to change your name to Draymond Green. I don't know a blacker name than that. That shit is black on paper. If you type Draymond Green into Airbnb, that shit will log off automatically.
You're the best.
You're the best.
Whatever it is,
we're all the best.
Whatever you do,
That's good,
your
though.
shit moves me. Like
I would rather see this than the old days where Michael and Prince were fighting and one motherfucker ended up falling off a light pole.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Oh, I saw that. Wait. Fuck that.
Fuck the old days,
Eddie,
nigga. You know that story?
No, I don't know the story.
Oh my God.
Eddie and Richard only got together for the movie. They were not cool. Richard and Cosby weren't cool.
The first time I saw Eddie and Richard together, Richard's on stage in the original one, and he's performing. And Rashawn brings him a note. And Richard looks at the note, and he puts it away, and he keeps working a little bit. And the note said, Eddie Murphy's here. So Richard's working, and so Richard finally says, no, there's a young man here. A lot of people say that he's a new me, but I'm not finished being me yet. So that fucks with me a little bit. But his name is Eddie Murphy. And everybody goes crazy. He's like, you want to come up? Eddie had never met.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Says, how about it? Put your hands together for Eddie Murphy. Eddie walks to the main, in the main room, comes up to that one step on, right? He steps up on the stage, they shake and meet for the first time. Richard walks away, but doesn't leave. He sits on that step, that one step down in the original room. He sits and watches Eddie work. So for Eddie, it's like, Richard's sitting here. And Eddie turns the motherfucker out. And Richard stands at the end. And they comes to the steps and they walk away together. And it was the greatest fucking moment.
Yeah, that's sad. Like, literally, dude.
Women go to restaurants and lose their goddamn mind. They got to order from that expensive side of the menu, the side with the steak and the lobster and the Dom Perignon. Guys like to give them that little warning too, huh? Ooh, honey, you understand? That's the fucking side of the menu, you understand that? It's steak, lobster, and dick. It is a combination.
If a nigga really wanted to rape me, what can I really do? Be honest. Like, if you get past my scuffle, that's it. I gotta take one for the team. That's all I got. If you get past my scuffle, hey, get the fuck off, nigga. Hey, nigga.
Ladies, you gotta start taking some responsibility for your own miserable life. If you over 25 years old, you still walking around here talking about niggas ain't shit, bitch, you need to grow the fuck up with your irresponsible ass. What you meant to say was all the niggas you fuck with ain't shit. That's right. You need to figure out what it is about your pussy that keep attracting ain't shit niggas. Might be ain't shit pussy.
Imagine if Michael Jackson was from the project.
What if Mike was shocked when they saw that tape? Police whooping black folks in the black community ain't no new shit. When I saw that, I thought it was a fucking new time.
The issue was not whether Lorena Bobbitt did what her husband claimed she did. The facts about the act were evident.
She cut his dick off. Drove down the highway and threw it out the window.
Car 111, I want you to proceed down on the freeway. See if you can't locate a dick.
She obviously got 20/20 vision. She found a little thing. It was very difficult to find.
The Los Angeles Police Department is actively searching for Mr. Simpson.
You know who the real victim is? Ike. Ike Turner. Because Ike was the king of the woman beaters till OJ took his title.
Don't nobody give a fuck about OJ and all that old punk ass shit. Niggas just want to know when is the next riot. Fuck that.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder.
I want Johnny Cochran in my corner. He was like a magician. It was if it don't fit, you must acquit.
I actually heard white people say that they were so upset and angry with the verdict that they couldn't sleep. Well, you know, black people have had insomnia for 400 years.
Every prison is filled with niggas, just overcrowded with niggas. One motherfucker gets away. Hey! We gotta take a look at the justice system. It's not working.
A friend of mine was at my house, and I told him I'm going to do stand-up again. And he said, really? And I said, yeah, I was hoping for more of a really, but it was really. And I said, yes, why? And he said, well, do you think you're still relatable? I said, yes, I do think I'm still relatable. I'm a human being. And he said, well, I mean, your life has changed so much. And I said, I know, but I still think I'm relatable. And anyway, just then, Batu, my butler, stepped into the library. So I'm sitting in the solarium, eating my breakfast, and I was on my third or fourth bite of cube pineapple that Batu was feeding me. And I said, Batu, I'm not hungry. I've lost my appetite. My friend has really upset me by what he said. And he said, well, then I shall draw you a bath, ma'am. And I said, you don't have to announce it all the time, just draw the bath. So I'm sitting in the tub, and I'm looking out the window at the rose garden, and Tatiana was tending to the roses, and I knocked, ma'am. And anyway, I get out of the tub, and Batu had forgotten to put the towel next to the tub again. And so I had to do that bath mat scoot all the way across the bathroom to get to the towel. And it's a big, you can imagine how big the bathroom is. It's like I'm doing the bath mat scoot. And then I stopped, and I was like, oh my God, this is relatable.
I came home early from the road. I had a $12,000 suit on, because life's been going good. And I got home early, and dinner was cooking. You ever come home when dinner's cooking? Doesn't that smell good? And my son saw me, and he was like, Dad's home. And he got up from the table and ran over to give me a hug, but he had chicken grease all over his face. So I stiffed on him like, yo, my man. Wash these threads, son. This is an expensive suit. I don't want you to get the chicken grease all over me. And he was like, what the chicken grease? Dad, this is duck. A tear came out of my eyes. I never dreamt I'd do so well in life that I'd raise a nigga with duck grease all over his face.
I know my life has changed drastically, but it wasn't always like that. And the reason I'm telling you this, as a famous person, you sort of read about yourself, you know, gossip and, you know, Twitter and everything. And one thing kept cropping up, even when I was preparing for this tour, people saying, oh, he's out of touch. He's so famous, he's rich, he's mega rich. I am. I could have this place burnt down for a laugh. No, but they say things like, oh, he's an observational comedian. How can he say things that relate to ordinary scum? And I say, don't call them scum, right? But even the papers, they try and get around to it. I do interviews, and they'll always be able to say, oh, do you always fly first class? I go, no, often private. Right? And the number of times I've answered this question, right? They say, do you know how much a pint of milk is? It was meant to make you look out of touch, and I don't know, but that's irrelevant, right? Next time a journalist asks me that, I'm gonna say, I don't know, mate, but here's £1,000. Run and get me one, will you? Is that enough? Is that enough? Yeah.
I must tell you, I've never had a problem with white people ever in my life. But full disclosure, the poor whites are my least favorites. We've gotten a lot of trouble out of them. And I'd never seen so many of them up close. I looked them right in their coal-smeared faces. And to my surprise, you know what I didn't see? I didn't see one deplorable face in that group. I saw some angry faces and some determined faces, but they felt like decent folk. No, they did. In fact, I'm not even lying, and I didn't sound fucked up, but I felt sorry for them. I know the game now. I know that rich white people call poor white people trash. And the only reason I know that is because I made so much money last year, the rich whites told me they say it at a cocktail party. And I'm not with that shit. And I stood with them in line like all of us Americans are required to do in a democracy. Nobody skips the line to vote. And I listened to them. I listened to them say naive, poor white people things. Man, Donald Trump's gonna go to Washington and he's gonna fight for us. I'm standing there thinking in my mind, you dumb motherfucker. You are poor. He's fighting for me.
This is where you guys should applaud and go crazy. I'll wait. Dave, I see why you wear these. They are so comfortable. Look at this room, y'all. Look at this room. Look at the people we got here at this party. Yes. Comedians, actors, and musicians are all here for one man. We're all here because Dave brings people together in a way that maybe no one else in the world can. I met Dave over 20 years ago, and we've been friends ever since. Dave, you have always been my mentor, my big brother, and every time I step on stage, every time, I think of you because I've always want to make you proud because you the GOAT. You know, you're the greatest. What I love about Dave is his spontaneity. My favorite story with Dave was on Christmas, one year after I finished feeding the homeless at the Laugh Factory. I do that every year because I never forget where I came from. Not the Laugh Factory, homeless. Dave called me to meet him for drinks. And when I arrived, I see him there with Marlon Wayans, and I was like, what are y'all fathers doing here on Christmas? Shouldn't y'all be with y'all kids? And Dave said, who are you, Scrooge? Bitch, have a drink. So we laughed and joked till about 1 a.m. And Dave was like, y'all wanna go bowling? And we were like, ain't no bowling alley open on Christmas this late? Like, what you talking about? And he started laughing. He said, do you realize I'm Dave Chappelle? He made a phone call, and then we jumped in his SUV, and then we started going up this hill, and then we pulled up to these huge gates. I mean, huge. I was like, are we finna be bowling at Jurassic Park? We get out the car, go to the door, and guess who opened the door? Guess who opened it? I said, gas, bitch, gas. Eddie Murphy opened the door. We was at Eddie Murphy's house. We was at Eddie Murphy's house, and I was like, and Dave was like, calm down, calm your ass down before we get kicked out. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Axel Foley got a bowling alley. Man, we must have talked and laughed and shared stories for hours. And that's the kind of guy Dave is, just spontaneous. And he's magical, and he's a horrible bowler.
I was at home and my son busted and he said, Dad, I need $250. He's only 12 years old, so I freaked out. What's going on, nigga? Somebody trying to kill you? He said, no. Kevin Hart's coming to town and I wanted to see his show. I said, well, how much are the tickets? He said, they're $125. I said, God damn, mine are only $80. I said, well, why do you need $250 then? He goes, because I want to go with you, Dad, please. And there it is. So I took him to the show, and we sit right up front, the lights go down, and one opening act after another goes on. Then Kevin takes the stage, crowd goes fucking nuts. Thousands of people. I was furious. The longer the show went on, the madder I got. Because his show was fucking outstanding. It was maddening. These people were fucking holding their stomachs. My son was slapping his knee. Yeah, nigga, I do this too. I'm so good at writing jokes, and this is not even an exaggeration. I actually write jokes backwards. I will write a punchline with no particular setup in mind. I just put it on a scrap of paper, and I'll throw that scrap of paper in my fishbowl. I have a fishbowl in my house filled with random punchlines. And every once in a while, I'll shake the bowl, and I'll dig in there and just pull one out and see if I can make that shit work. And I picked one for this special. It's not an easy punchline to pull off. Are you ready? Yeah. Here it goes. The punchline is, so I kicked her in the pussy. I haven't finished the joke yet. I just know whatever happens in the beginning of the joke, at the end of the joke, for some reason, I'm gonna kick somebody in the pussy. And it's going to be hilarious. I'm just afraid of being attacked. Happens to the best of us. Don't ever forget what happened to that French actor. You know what I'm talking about? Juicy Smouillet. He's a very famous French actor. Y'all never heard of Juicy Smouye? Juicy Smouye is an actor from France. And he became famous on a show called Empire. One night, he was in Chicago late at night and was the victim he was the victim of a racist and homophobic attack. You see, Juicy Smouye is gay and he is black, not just French. Oh, it was a crazy story. Apparently, when he was walking down the street late at night, two white men came out of the shadows with MAGA hats on and beat him up. Tied a rope around his neck, called him all kinds of niggas, and put some bleach on him and ran off into the night. This shit was like international news. And everybody was furious, especially in Hollywood. It's all over everybody's Twitter feed and Instagram page. Justice for Juicy and all this shit. The whole country was up in arms. It was talking about it all the time on the news. And for some reason, African Americans, we were like oddly quiet. We were so quiet about this shit that the gay community started accusing African American community of being homophobic for not supporting him. What they didn't understand is that we were supporting him with our silence. Because we understood that this nigga was clearly lying.
They say you shouldn't be intoxicated around your children. Well, I'm not. I'm high. I call it elevated. It's a different thing.
What has happened, unfortunately, is that since Y2K, I've just been melting. I've been melting my brain by pot. I know, like, a brain is supposed to be like, like that, like have like mass and volume. My brain is more like a crepe that has been rolled by someone who isn't French and is not committed to the cuisine. And then and then inside of the crepe is just one like naked wiggling worm that's like getting really tired and like doesn't know how it ended up there in like that bad sleeping bag, and it's just like, oh, mother. And then I imagine my brain like the bathhouse in Spirited Away, like like it's like a thought comes in or like something to discuss, and it's like a token that pops down in front of the worm's face, and the worm's like, modern art? Oh shit, man. And then in life I'm like, Jackson Pollock put jizz on his paintings. Jackson Pollock, starring Ed Harris, put jizz on paintings. And then someone's like, get out of the Guggenheim! And I'm like, Guggenheim? I thought this was the aquarium. You guys fucked yourself by calling them your museum the Goo 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 Goo. That museum is fun, because you're like, whoa!
I think the most high I've ever been in public was a tie for first place. Okay, there's the first time I did MDMA, Molly. And the other time was when I went and saw the Tupac hologram at Coachella. So the first time I did Molly, it was like 10 years ago. I went to this comedy festival. And I bought a bunch of those little Molly pills. And I went to see a comedy show. And I was with my buddy Carl. I gave him a pill. I took a pill. And we felt like $1 million, right? Serotonin machine gun going off in my brain. And I felt so good that I turned to my friend and I go, dude, if we eat like 4 or 5 more of these little guys, we'll feel 4 or 5 times as good, my man. That's basic math, bro. So we fucking wolfed down a bunch more. What a fucking mistake. Because then my eyeballs started working independently like a chameleon. I was like, like David Attenborough from Planet Earth started narrating my thoughts. Like, this asshole has taken more drugs than he can handle. And now his heart will do a Slipknot drum solo. My eyes were doing like Diplo air horn sound. So I fucking panicked. I ran outside. My heart's beating out of my chest, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna have to go to the fucking hospital. I'm having a meltdown. And I go, no, I got it. I'll make myself throw up. Or we call it pulling the trigger. You know what I mean? Or at least that's what we called it in ballet class. I don't know what you guys call it, but. So I run outside and I'm fucking slamming my finger in the back of my throat. The problem was I had so much MDMA coursing through my veins, it wasn't making me throw up. It just felt like I was hitting a hidden G-spot in the back of my throat, and my uvula was like a giant clitoris. So I was just like, and I've never come harder in my entire life. First and only time I have ever achieved orgasm. Thank you. Okay, and then the Tupac hologram. All right, so check this out. So I go to Coachella, it's weekend 2. I'm fucking hyped to see this goddamn Tupac hologram. And it's so whack, but I'm like caught up. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see this like Grand Theft Auto 4 era CGI Tupac. So I was drinking all day. We're out in a big field. It's late at night. Thousands of people. We're all watching Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre on stage, right? And my friend Brian hands me like a big ass Xanax bar, right? Like a big fucking like a George Clinton horse pill, right? But Xanax, it's not a good party drug. It makes you black in and out of consciousness. You lose your memory. But I wasn't thinking, so I wolf it down and I tell my friend Brian, I was like, okay, hold up. I'm gonna make a pee-pee. I go to the porta potties. I come back. My brain must have hit a Xanax black hole because my friend Brian was like, dude, where the fuck have you been? And I go, what are you talking about? He's like, bro, you've been gone for like 45 minutes. The Tupac hologram came and fucking went. You missed the entire fucking thing. And I've never been more mad and high at the same time. And I just turned around and I started ripping grass out of the ground and going, no! Why? And it was during the most mellow Snoop Dogg song of his entire set. So Snoop Dogg's on stage like S-N-O-O-P, Snoop-a-loop, Snoop, poop, poop-a-scoop, doop-a-doop-a-dee-doop. And one by one, a sea of 1,000 people just look back at me going, bury me alive! I don't deserve to live! Then I just overhear this dude rolling a blunt behind me, look back and go, well, I guess everybody enjoys Snoop Dogg differently.
Next thing I know, Snoop reaches under the desk and he pulls out the biggest blunt I have ever seen. Oh, this sucker was huge. As soon as he pulled out that freaking blunt, I got excited because I wanted to grab my cell phone, okay? I wanted to grab my cell phone so that I could take a selfie of Snoop in the background being Snoop. So while I'm fumbling, trying to get my phone, Snoop starts talking to me again. Yo, Big Fluff. Yeah, what? Hit that while I hit this. The second I went like that, All of the cameras in the room, red light, red light, red light, red light, red light. My publicist is like, no! My son is like, yeah! And now I'm being faced, bro, I'm being faced with a serious situation because, you know, I've talked about friends participating in doing stuff like this, but I've never openly talked about myself, you know. And now I realize that from this moment forward, people are gonna know what happened here with Snoop. So I started trying to find ways to justify it to myself. You know, if you're gonna do something like this on camera, you want it to be with Snoop. You want it to be with Snoop, Cheech and Chong, or Willie Nelson. Next thing I know, the manager hands me a lighter, I light it, and I take a big hit. So listen, I'm doing my best to hold in all this smoke because I don't want to look like a punk in front of Snoop Dogg. I'm trying, I'm fighting, bro, it's hard, you know? The whole time Snoop is like, hell yeah. That's what I'm saying. Fluffy going puffy today. I do not remember the rest of the interview.
I have kids and I lie to them. I get high around them too. People say you shouldn't do that, but they don't see it. They say you shouldn't be intoxicated around your children. Well, I'm not, I'm high. Call it elevated, it's a different thing. The people who have a problem with that, they don't understand what getting high is. Like, they think you're gonna be like to your kid, like, who are you? What do you think? What's the worst thing that can happen if I'm a little high around my kid? They're gonna get extra hugs and daddy's gonna be paranoid about objects. Oh, look out, don't go there. That's it. Plus, I have cool conversations. I have a 6-year-old daughter, man. There's not a lot a 48-year-old man, a 6-year-old girl have in common, other than the fact she's my daughter. And so our conversations are normally pretty boring. But when I'm high, I'm like, you call that thing your baby, your doll, you call it your baby, but you know it's not a baby, right? Yeah, I know it's not a baby. Do you call it a baby because you're the youngest and you like having someone who is responsible for you? Maybe. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Give me a hug. I love you. Mwah.
I see my age in my children. I came home from the road. This is not long ago. I've been gone for, if you can picture, I was gone for weeks and weeks. And when I came back, nobody was home. Now, one person in my family thought that maybe I'd like to see them when I got back. Like, they knew when I was coming back, but they just weren't home. And that shit was a wake-up call. You know, like when my kids were little and the tour bus would pull up to the house, these motherfuckers would spill out. Dad is home, hooray! And they'd hug me and kiss me, and then as the years went on, they'd get less interested. Hey, everybody, look, it's Mr. Promises back from the road. But an empty house, that's some cold shit. And I went into my oldest son's room. I was like, hello, hello? He was gone. And I'd never done this to him before, but for some reason I just did it. I just looked through his shit. Just to see who this motherfucker was becoming. And I found these notebooks and I started going through the notebooks and it was all this wonderful poetry in them. Written as his handwriting. I didn't even know this nigga wrote poems. And then I looked through his drawers and I opened up his middle drawer and I found this rolling paper. And I looked down at them papers like, oh, that's where that poetry's coming from. And that shit broke my heart. I mean, I smoked weed, but I mourned my son's innocence. And I cried a little bit. And I took his papers upstairs to my room. Rolled some weed that I'd hid from the family. And I got really high. And then I got paranoid, so I put his papers back how I found them. So he wouldn't know what I was up to. This nigga won't even know that that happened until he sees the special. Yeah, nigga, I found your papers. He's a cold motherfucker. Let me tell you, this kid is only 16 years old. Listen to what he did to me. This motherfucker calls me up in the middle of the night. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. He goes, Dad, don't be mad. I knew something was terribly wrong. I said, what's going on? He said, listen, I'm fine. And don't forget, you told me to do this. I'm at a party, and my designated driver had too much to drink. And me and my friends need you to come pick us up. I said, Jesus Christ, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, nigga. I am shit-faced. But I figured, fuck it, it's better me than some kid. I might as well roll the dice and go pick my nigga up. I said, all right, I'm coming to get you. Just give me the address and I'll be right there. And then he gave me the address and I was shocked. I said, son, you are not gonna believe this, but I'm at the same party, nigga. You know, when I was growing up, I was probably about 8 years old, and at the time, we were living in Silver Spring. Yeah. Yes. Common misconception about me in D.C., a lot of people think I'm from the hood. That's not true. But I never bothered to correct anybody because I wanted the streets to embrace me. As a matter of fact, I kept it up as a ruse. Like sometimes I'll hang out with rappers like Nas and them, and these motherfuckers will start talking about the projects. Yo, it was wild in the PJs, yo. And I'll be like, word, nigga, word. But I don't know. I have no idea. My parents did just well enough so that I could grow up poor around white people. And to be honest, when Nas and them talk about the projects, nigga, I used to get jealous because it sounded fun. Everybody in the projects was poor, and that's fair. But if you were poor in Silver Spring, nigga, it felt like it was only happening to you. I know the pain of that first sleepover at a white friend's house. And you come back home on Sunday and just look at your parents like, y'all need to step your game up. Everything in Timmy's house works. Remember the first time you saw that? In a cold winter, and you'd be at a white friend's house and see the motherfuckers in their living room without their coats on? Timmy was one of my first white friends, like, in my life, man. He's a good dude, too. He moved to Silver Spring from Utah, of all places. I guess his family was affiliated with that Mormon church they got down there, and me and him used to hang out. And one day I was at his house, we were just hanging out, and Timmy says, Dave, why don't you stay for dinner tonight? I said, oh, man, I'd love to, but I can't. If I'm not home before dark, my mother will kill me. That was a lie. My mother had several jobs. I hadn't seen her in like 3 or 4 days. At that point in my life, it was my experience that white dinner wasn't delicious. I'd rather go home and fry some bologna or some shit like that. But then old Timmy threw me a curveball I wasn't expecting. He said, it's too bad you can't stay, Dave, because Mom made stovetop stuffing. I said, what the fuck, stovetop? Well, hold on, nigga, let me make some phone calls real quick. I had seen that commercial so many times, I had dreamt of getting my hands on some of that stovetop stuffing. And finally, I met a motherfucker that actually had a box of stovetop in the house. I couldn't miss this opportunity, so I pretended to call my mother. And then I came back and I said, Timmy, you're not gonna believe this great news. Mom said I can stay. And he said, fantastic. He said, why don't you come with me and we'll help set the table and then we can say the blessing. I had no interest in setting this motherfucker's table or saying these crazy ass Mormon prayers. I just wanted that goddamn stuffing. My hands first. My plan was simple. Wash my hands slowly, and by the time I'm done, the table will be set, the blessing will be said, and all that there will be left to do is eat. Went to the bathroom. I washed my hands very slowly. I must have been in there for about 10 minutes. And suddenly, one of his mothers came to the door. She was like, hi, David, right? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, Timmy tells me that you're planning on staying for dinner. I said, I hope that's not a problem, ma'am. She says, no, it's no problem. In fact, we'd love to have you. It's just that we weren't expecting company. And I'm afraid there's not enough stovetop stuffing for everybody. So I kicked her in the pussy. Bam! Ladies and gentlemen, I told you I'm dope, nigga. I told you what I was gonna say and you still didn't see it coming. And that's why I make the big bucks. Oh my God. But there's a more important reason that I would stop doing comedy right now. And this reason is the real reason that's been percolating, and it really is the crowd, not you. I'm talking about the crowd on the big stage. It's too hard to entertain a country whose ears are so brittle. Motherfuckers are so sensitive, the whole country is turned into bitch-ass niggas. Everything you say upsets somebody. You know, I can remember when it all started. It was when I was doing Chappelle's show. When I was doing Chappelle's show, I used to do the show, and then on the weekends, I do like concerts and shit like that. So I'm doing a concert, and there was a couple in the front row, beautiful couple. The wife was obviously Asian. You could see it in her face. The husband, this motherfucker was mysterious, to say the least. Couldn't quite pinpoint where he was from. Caramel-colored fella, very nice hair, but he could have been from anywhere. Bangladesh, Mexico. I can't guess with a nigga like this. All I knew for sure about this guy is that his wife was a bitch. I could see that in her face, too. No, he was laughing and having a good time, and she was scowling at me at a goddamn comedy show. I couldn't figure it out. And then I realized at some point that she was pregnant, and I was smoking on stage. I said, oh my God, that's probably why she's mad. So I started to put my cigarette out, but then she hit me with one of them fake non-smoker calls. So I just kept smoking. I thought to myself, bitch, that baby will be fine, relax. And I tried to break the tension. I just asked her. That's all I said. I go, hey, where are you guys from anyway? And I could tell that she was on to me. She goes, very condescendingly, she says, I'm from California. If you're asking my ethnicity, I am Chinese. He was like, I'm Mexican, bro. I said, well, I'm sorry if I offended you by asking, but you're a very beautiful couple. And miss, there's no question that you're gonna give birth to the hardest working baby this world has ever seen. That's not a bad joke. She got very upset. She got up to leave immediately, but she didn't just leave. She had to take one last dig at me on the way out. I will never buy one of your fucking DVDs again, Dave Chappelle. I said, ma'am, with all due respect, Chinese people don't buy DVDs. And the crowd went crazy. We were all laughing, having a good time. I didn't even think anything of it. And then just 3 days later, this lady sends a fucking letter to my promoter telling him not to book me for shows anymore because I was, quote, racist, and I'm quoting her, insensitive to the nature of my interracial marriage. I was like, word, bitch, I was. If she would know that I myself am in an interracial marriage. That's right. In fact, my wife is Asian too. Surprise, bitch, I'll see you on Thanksgiving. But my wife's not Chinese. She's Filipino. That's right, that's right. And our kids are Puerto Rican somehow, so there you go. But I don't give a fuck about interracial marriage. In fact, you know what? My mother is half white. A lot of people don't know that. Well, all right, you were a little too excited, but okay. A lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but it's true. You can't tell looking at me, but if I grew my hair out, you would think you was at a fucking Cat Williams concert. My shit is beautiful.